Welcome, wrestling fans. Welcome to Curtain Jerkin. As always, I'm your host, Jacob Grondy, reporting for the Main Event Marks YouTube channel. You can also check me out on Spotify. However you're listening to my voice, I appreciate it. We're going to be talking about WWE NXT. We're going to be talking about WWE Speed. We're going to be talking about WWE SmackDown and New Japan Windy City Riot next episode. This episode is all about AEW Dynamite review. I was a little tired. I got to admit, I was a little fatigued from the WrestleMania week to sit down and watch NXT. I watched a little bit of it. I was hooked, and then all of a sudden something hit me like a brick wall. I needed to sleep. And I did that. I'm interested in WWE Speed, but I haven't seen the last two matches. They're just 3-minute matches. I love the concept. 3-minute matches you do during a commercial break for the live show to keep the live crowd entertained, as well as having content for social media, being able to have original content on a platform like Twitter or X, where a lot of wrestling fans go to kind of complain about the content on TV. You're giving them fresh content, kind of I don't want to say controlling the narrative, but being able to control the attention on that platform is huge. I think it's a full circle, all around great idea. And also, WWE Speed, light heavyweight action is usually fast paced, but there's no rationality for that fast pace other than they utilize speed to their advantage, where we saw a few years ago in 2019 where the NWA had 5-minute matches, and that explained the quick, fast pace of why these wrestlers were working a lot faster than they were in the heavyweight ranks. And then I think like 2 years ago, or maybe even last year, New Japan implemented the television championship. Zack Sabre Jr. perfected the art of a 15-minute match. I thought that was really good. And here we have the 3-minute match for WWE Speed. It's amazing. I love it. It makes sense psychologically from a wrestling perspective. It makes sense from a business perspective, and as a fan going to WWE shows, it sucks sitting there during a commercial break. So to have something like this during the commercial break, I love it. But we're not here to talk about WWE or even NWA or New Japan, all the things that I brought up. We're here to talk about AEW Dynamite. I'm going to give you my thoughts before ranking every single match from worst to first. Before the first match even started, Joe got attacked, which I think that it's kind of interesting. Before they even really got that going, they had like kind of a show long thread, like something happened at the beginning and we had to wait till the end to find out, kind of hooking people to see what happens throughout the show. You don't really see a lot of that in AEW. They did a recap of Trent Beretta attacking Cassidy, Hook, Jericho, and Shibata promo. Jericho starts calling shots. Shibata doesn't really understand. Hook says trust him. That was a little foreshadowing from what was going to happen in the future. The Young Bucks sit down and they talk about the footage from All In. Kind of the main talking point before and after this episode of Dynamite was this footage. They did the best they could. I think blaming FTR, if you're going to go that route, that is. I would never have shown this footage in a million years for a number of reasons. But if you were going to show the footage and that was the idea you were running with, I think they did the best they could have. But this makes AEW look bad because CM Punk was telling the truth. So let's recap his day. Okay, so they did not pick him up from the airport. Why? I mean, heavily rumored that Christopher Daniels, the guy who controls, people getting picked up and dropped off from the airport in AEW, didn't like CM Punk, had a beef with CM Punk based on Danielson not being allowed, Daniels not being allowed in collision tapings. So they kind of were fucking with him there. So he had to use his own money to take public transit as to the biggest wrestling show ever or in CM Punk's life. So he gets there. And then Jack Perry, the guy who we now know, based on Punk telling the truth about this, we can only assume that he's telling the truth about other things. Jack Perry was pitching a fit to anyone who would listen, all because he didn't want to attend work. He didn't want to be a professional wrestler. He didn't want to go to work when he didn't have to. So he was going to smash a car. CM Punk said, don't use real glass. He decided to air this out in front of the world, saying, real glass, cry me a river. CM Punk confronted him about it. Apparently, from what CM Punk says, again, we have no reason not to believe him. He told the truth based on this footage, said, do something about it, provoking him even more face to face after provoking him in front of the world. So he chokes him out. He pushes him. He chokes him out. There was a pull apart, and he yells at Tony Khan. Why would he yell at Tony Khan? Because his accommodations were fucked up. Throughout the whole day, he had a hard time getting there, and then when he does get there, he gets provoked publicly and face to face by somebody who is, maybe could learn a thing or two from, I would say, the veteran Punk. Right in front of Tony Khan. Tony Khan did not feel the need to stop it, or did not feel the need, apparently, to address the situation at all. Like maybe apologize or see how something like one of your biggest stars not being picked up from the airport even happened. So I would be mad at Tony Khan as well. Probably yell at him as well. I don't know if I would say all the things Punk said, but I understand why Punk was upset, and you can go on and say Punk was not professional, but not picking him up from the airport was not professional. All this passive-aggressive stuff can really build up, especially for somebody who is used to confronting problems head-on like CM Punk is. But like I said, I digress. One, I do have to say that I think that since CM Punk told the truth about this, I tend to believe him about other things, maybe like what happened at All Out in 2022. But if you were going to show this footage, I think they did the best thing they could by having the Young Bucks kind of try to tie it into this match they're having at Dynasty. FTR comes out. They cut a great promo. They kind of save this even more, bringing it all to the match. But I think overall this made AEW look bad and made CM Punk look good. It wasn't like, I don't know what they were thinking here. They decided to capitalize on the backstage antics of CM Punk 8 months too late, and honestly, 8 months and a year too late, because initially when him and the Bucks were having a problem, that's when the wrestling world was watching. Now, over almost 2 years later, when Punk is standing in the ring during the main event of WrestleMania holding Cody Rhodes, who also used to be in AEW, hand during the legitimately biggest wrestling show ever, the biggest gate in the world, making the most money, they decide to try to capitalize it then, which is, the whole thing, just made AEW look bad. What didn't make AEW look bad was this Daniel Bryan video package, or Bryan Danielson, excuse me. Excalibur did a great job narrating, and then Will Ospreay comes out. He brings up the Triple H comments, says that he's not afraid of the grind. He's the only one flying from the UK to America week after week. And of course, we know as New Japan fans, as AEW fans, and then like New Japan fans adjacent because you're an AEW fan, that Will Ospreay worked in New Japan during the pandemic. And it was a little different working in New Japan and in Japan during the pandemic. One, because people were not allowed to talk and cheer in public. So there's these crowds. It's an arena that can hold 20,000. It's got 5,000 in it, and no one is allowed to cheer. They clap. And then he has to, solely go back to his very small hotel room and just sit there for hours and hours. So, if that ain't grinding, I don't know what is. And then he also brings up the point that Triple H is only in the position he is in now because he, quote unquote, grinded on the boss's daughter, which is true. I will say that. There's been all this talk recently with, the CM Punk and the Elite stuff being brought up, where people are like, well, is Triple H just doing his job? Back when Triple H and CM Punk had beef, it wasn't Triple H's job to be head of talent. He was literally just had political sway because he was fucking the boss's daughter. And the only reason he was able to get in the position to fuck the boss's daughter was because he kind of kissed Shawn Michaels and the Clique's ass. So he went from the Clique to Stephanie McMahon, and then by way of Stephanie into Vince McMahon, and he had a lot of political sway. It wasn't until 2015, 2016 where he started doing a really good job booking NXT, where the fan perspective kind of flipped. And now that Vince is gone, I mean, I don't know if you saw the press conference, but anyone involved in TKO, Nick Khan, or anything like that, he's praising, he's putting over. Triple H is a known ass kisser. That is just the truth. And Will Ospreay brought that up, and I think it's getting lost in like the fabric of time that Triple H is a known ass kisser, and Will Ospreay bringing it up here after Triple H, kind of calls him out on the Pat McAfee show. I thought this was great by Will Ospreay. Unlike the CM Punk footage, I think anytime you show Will Ospreay, he makes AEW look good because he's good in the ring and he is showing that he is good on the mic. Unlike Okada and a lot of guys they bring in, Will Ospreay, I think, is actually better in AEW than he was where he came from, because in New Japan, sure, you're allowed to talk, on the mic and everything, but it's not to an English-speaking audience directly. Where here, he's from the UK, we're from America. He's able to talk abruptly, make nuanced comments, able to kind of show his personality a little bit. And I think this is making Will Ospreay look amazing. I think Will Ospreay so far is the 2024 MVP for AEW. I guess you could say Swerve. Maybe him and Swerve are neck and neck. And right underneath that, you would say maybe Joe because he's the champion, or maybe MJF, even though he's only been there for a short period of time. Christian, I don't know who you would say, but Will Ospreay and Swerve are kind of saving this company, I would say, so to speak. And I'm really looking forward to Will Ospreay and Danielson next weekend. Julia Hart, always spooky, good video package. Bullet Club Gold promo, always good as well. Toni Storm interrupting Thunder Rosa's promo to give her a toast, only to blind her with champagne, cracks her with a tin, and then smears her makeup with a towel. She celebrates ridiculously, kind of humping the air while spinning a towel, a move that we've seen tons of people do in the locker room, but never in front of an arena after throwing champagne in someone's face. I thought this was hilarious. But the blinded Thunder Rosa didn't realize that Deonna Purrazzo came to her aid and pushes Purrazzo away, kind of teasing tension between Rosa and Purrazzo. And, sign me up for that fucking match. That should be pretty good. There was a sit-down with Mercedes Moné. Lights go out. She's attacked, probably by that spooky bitch Julia Hart. Let's rank every single match from worst to first. We have 5 big matches here, and number 5, Okada versus Cristiano Argentino. Cristiano Argentino, been around since 2011, popped up in the WWE during the Performance Center COVID era, even worked a little bit in the NWA, gets hit with a Rainmaker 1, 2, 3. They got to do something with this GOAT here. They put a mid-card title on the guy, and they don't know what to do with him after that. They brought him in, and just with the association of the Young Bucks, they think he's going to get booed out the building. But the Bucks, they're kind of that tweener heels anyways. People know they're going to get a good match from them, so they really don't cheer the Young Bucks or boo the Young Bucks as much as you really want. And since there's not really a lot of heat on Okada, they're not going to really boo Okada either. It feels like Swerve, Joe, Okada, the Young Bucks are all in these like tweener roles where they can, they're like good and bad. It doesn't really fit. They're bad, but they get cheered. And I would also put, like even Will Ospreay, a guy who's supposed to get cheered, is in a heel faction where he wrestles everyone in that heel faction, But what are you going to do when the actual turn happens, when he leaves the group? You're just going to have a bunch of rematches? You're burning through all the great matches that you could build to if he just upped and left the group in the first place. But I digress. He accepts Pac's challenge. Pac comes out, gets attacked by the Young Bucks. FTR try to make the save, but they fall victims to the New Elite. There you go. That was the worst match on this show. Number 4, Mariah May versus Anna Jay. Mariah May comes out after Toni Storm attacked Thunder Rosa, gets a kiss on the cheek. It fires her up. She walks down there, and we have the Battle of the Bombshells here. Solid match. Mariah May gets the victory here, but after that, Anna Jay attacks her, being a sore loser, choking out Mariah May with the Queen Slayer, but then Mira Shakawaya. I know I just butchered that name, and I'm sorry. I don't watch Stardom. I tried to watch Stardom, but honestly, my credit card got fucked up like in 2019, and now every time I try to log in with a new credit card, they're like, oh, nope, we remember Jacob Grondy, and he did not pay us, so you're fucked. So I haven't been able to log into Stardom more than like 4 or 5 years because of that. That's a little peek into my life here of why I don't keep up with Stardom. People who did not see the Ring of Honor pay-per-view have no clue who this girl is. She was involved in a 6-man tag, and then they did a spot with her and Mariah May, but very few people watched the Ring of Honor pay-per-view the week of WrestleMania compared to the people that watched Dynamite. And even if you did watch that Ring of Honor pay-per-view, it was still kind of random. So they bring out this, Stardom sensation to this West Virginia crowd who legitimately, like, if you looked at their faces, were like looking around like, who the fuck? There was one guy clapping, but he wasn't like cheering or anything like that. He was like, okay, I guess this is cool. Mira, I mean, I will have to say she did look good. So, if I was confused, I'd rather be confused looking at her than most other people. But why the fuck did they do this? You don't have to have everything that happens in Japan happen in AEW, and to assume that everything in Japan is going to be over in AEW, or people are going to know what the fuck is going on. It's very, very small crowd. They kissed. Mariah May seemed to be interested in this kiss, so this is the second kiss in like 10 minutes from another female that fires up Mariah May. I don't know if they're playing into that. That's supposed to be part of her character. If she's legitimately into that, I don't know. I'll tune in next week to find out more about that. But we're going on to the number 3 match on the show, Hook, Shibata, Jericho versus Shane Taylor Promotions. Love the new Shane Taylor Promotions. Love this fresh coat of paint they're putting on him with a go-go. Solid match. Hook suplexes Shane Taylor again. It was probably an honor for Lee Moriarty to get his ass whooped by Shibata like he was doing during this match. Shibata accidentally boots Jericho off the apron. Jericho pissed. He starts bickering with Hook. Shibata locks in a sleeper. A go-go distracts the ref. Shane Taylor knocks Shibata the hell out. Moriarty actually being able to pin Shibata. 1, 2, 3. Interesting enough storyline. Good enough wrestlers to keep me hooked. No pun intended there. Pun intended always. We'll see where this goes. But Shibata, Jericho, Hook. Hook is over. Shibata and Jericho, legends. I like this new fresh coat of paint with a go-go on Shane Taylor Promotions. I like this. This is great. Number 2, the main event of the program, Samoa Joe versus Dustin Rhodes. I saw a lot of heat kind of going on AEW for putting Dustin Rhodes in the main event because, trying to play off of Cody Rhodes' story, but why not? Why not do something like that? That makes sense to me. Dustin Rhodes is a name. If you're flipping through the channels, he's been on TV since like 1992. So legitimately 32 years, Dustin Rhodes, or Goldust, has been on TBS, TNT, USA, Sci-Fi, UPN, all kinds of channels, all kinds of networks. So it makes little sense to me to not utilize him and, have, and put over Samoa Joe, who's been on the TV for like 15 years. Swerve attacking Joe as he was making his entrance at the beginning of the show, just like I mentioned, putting him through a table even. So they took a break, and then it's now becomes the main event. Joe still banged up. This match starts, still manages to get the upper hand here, busting Dustin open, bleeding all over the place. Red makes green. Dustin knows that from 32 years of experience. Still fighting though, dropping the bionic elbow, hitting the code red. Dustin brings in the title. Ref convinces him to drop it. It's not worth it, but the title is just looming in the corner. Crossroads, 1, 2, no. Dustin doesn't have the same technique as his brother does apparently, but Joe gets the chain, distracts the ref with it only to grab the title, clocks Dustin Rhodes with it, 1, 2, 3. The champ wins, and then chokes him out for extra douche points as Swerve comes in and stops him, clocking him with the chain. Locker room empties. Rent Titus was out there for Mark Briscoe's title win at the Ring of Honor show, but here he is, and they say the locker room empties. I didn't know Rent Titus was a part of the AEW locker room here. That's news coming out of Dynamite here. When is he going to get a match? He was a mainstay in Ring of Honor for years. You have him a part of the locker room. Get him out there and wrestling. He could take the Rainmaker like the best of them. Why are you having this indie guy out there when Rent Titus could be taking the Rainmaker? I digress. I move on to the best match on the show. The actual curtain jerker of the program, Penta versus Adam Copeland for the TNT title. West Virginia behind Penta, and Penta with the upper hand in the early going. Edge did hit a flying head scissors, which was kind of cool, but Penta kind of stayed in control. Copeland tries to control the pace with an ankle lock. Penta breaks free and hits a stalling dropkick, 1, 2. Adam won't quit. Battle on the apron. Copeland hits a power slam, but he's out on the floor, along with, the Lucha brother. Sunset flip off the top, 1, 2. Copeland kicks out again. Penta goes for a springboard maneuver, gets caught with a spear, 1, 2, 3. Adam Copeland retains. Lights go out. The spooky she-devil herself, Julia Hart, shows up, and Brody King in a really cool looking tailored suit starts whooping the TNT champion's ass. Willow comes in for the save, somehow gets Black Mist on her, but they missed it or something. I don't know what happened. They missed the mist, or maybe she wasn't supposed to mist, or maybe she just drooled on her and she drools mist. I don't know what happened, but they didn't really make too big of a deal about it, but they had to bring it up where there was a little bit of black shit on Willow. Willow and Brody have a stare down, which was kind of interesting here. The two powerhouses of both teams. Edge then able to pull the ropes down, having Brody go to the outside, keeping the House of Black at bay. And then they go to the back, and it's, Mark Briscoe and Eddie Kingston meeting up with Edge. They're talking about Dynasty. Willow Nightingale shows up. Stokely Hathaway, he's all fired up. He tries to book Willow Nightingale for the TNT title. She calms him down. But before Dynasty, we're going to get Willow and Copeland versus Julia and Brody King. That should be a good match. And this was a good episode of Dynamite, but ironically overshadowed by the CM Punk incident, which the whole reason they showed it is because they can't get over that the CM Punk incident overshadowed the All In show in the first place. Let it go, guys. Let it the fuck go. Fly high. I'm out.